Hello everyone, it's Papa Hector here, and if you like my video, click like below, and please subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm teaching everyone. So today, what I wanted to make the video on was the top 11 actually, top 11 mistakes made by those on the spiritual path. A lot of these, or some of these, are very common when first starting on the spiritual path, but many of these are also need to be avoided as you continue to grow and progress and move along the spiritual path. And a lot of these get forgotten over time, and that's why we need to go over them. And I'm going to go from a sense of kind of like progressively getting worse, I guess you would say. However, all of these are really severely bad and really are things that are going to move you backwards or degress you instead of progress you upon the spiritual path. So number 11 is disrespecting those people who came before you. That means those who are your elders. And your elders are included but are not limited to the elders in your specific lineage. Elders in all traditions should be respected, and those who came before you are pioneers, leaders, people who pushed something forward that you were never able to do so. Someone that brought something to you that you didn't have without them. Someone who has been practicing or working in a tradition for longer than yourself. Okay? Disrespecting those who came before you. And that includes the elders within your lineage and outside of your lineage. And there's many ways that this disrespect is done, but I'm not going to go into full depth or detail in all that in this short video. So one of the key ways to avoid this is simply respect everyone. Honor and respect are key tenets in our traditions, and in unity lies the force. Personally, I don't like to give really opinions about other spiritual workers or how they do their practice unless asked for, and even then, I always like to iterate like this is the way I do things in my lineage, this is the way things go here, etc., etc. Other people do whatever they want in their house. It's none of my concern. My concern is with the spirits and with the spirits that I work with and deal with in my spirits, not what everybody else is doing. So I try to always keep an open mind and not be of any judgment because it really doesn't bother me because it doesn't concern me. And especially when you're starting on the spiritual path, it's very important to keep a layer of respect so that you can know where you're going. Number 10. This is so frequently common that it's ridiculous. And this is getting initiated too quickly. When you're first starting on the spiritual path, and depending on where you're starting, and if you're just starting to discover the ATRs or other traditions that we have, okay, getting initiated too quickly is definitely the wrong move because many times you don't even know where you are, who you are, and where you should be, and what's best for you, and what paths are really open to you, and what is meant to do what in your life. Getting initiated too quickly, after power, ego, title, whatever it is that you're doing, is a big way to crash and burn. And if the people that you're dealing with, okay, need you to get initiated right away, there needs to be a really good reason for that. And if there's not a really life or death type of reason, very severe reason, there should be some level of basic foundations or foundational knowledge you should have going in. If they're pushing you and telling you you really can't know anything until you get initiated, there's a certain level of problem there. Because it's like telling a Catholic or someone who wants to join the Catholic Church that they can't know anything about being a Catholic until they become a Catholic. There are secrets in these traditions. There's lots of things that are secrets in these traditions. However, there's a lot of knowledge and information that is public knowledge, a lot of which I give you for free on all of my various sites, vodureligion.com, la21divisiones.com, exiliconen.com, mystical work, this site, etc., etc. So do your research. Number 9. If you've already been initiated, and for those who are initiated, this is a very common one as well. And this is basically letting your initiation go to your head. Getting your head all bloated up because you're initiated. Whoop-de-doo. Tons of people have done it before you, and tons of people have gone before you and been initiated before you and developed themselves before you for hundreds of years, thousands of years. So, congratulations on your initiation. And I'm not being sarcastic there, really congratulations. However, you are yet just beginning upon the path. Okay? So, concluding that initiation does anything for you as far as knowledge and how to behave and how to be and how to use the power that you've been given via initiation is two separate ends of the spectrum. Okay? Where I was trained at with my godparents, basically, it didn't matter what realm or level you were initiated at. Your work-wise and the way you were treated was at the bare basic level, and you worked your way up. Meaning you did the same thing that the non-initiate did, than what the first level initiate did, and so on and so on and so forth. Initiation does not make you that special. So, number 9 often comes along with number 8, but sometimes number 8 comes before it, etc., etc. And this is, I call this feeling like you made it. So some people, they get initiated and they're like, yeah, I made it, I did it, I'm it. And other people, they find the path and they feel like they made it. So many other things, or they're told they need to be initiated and there's something special and they made it. When you feel like you made it, you stop progressing, you stop learning, you stop pushing forward. Okay? You didn't make it. There's always more to learn, there's always more to do, always more to know, and to have within you the totality of who you are. So you didn't make it. You made it to a certain point that leads you to another road, to another certain point that'll lead you to another road, and so on and so forth. You make it when you die. That's how you made it. That's the end of the road for you. This takes us to number 7. Very common one. And this is what I call getting distracted by nonsense. Getting distracted by nonsense is getting distracted in dramas that exist within the communities, dramas that exist between priests, dramas that exist within spiritual houses, temples, gossip, okay? Focusing on what other people are doing rather than what you're doing. Focusing on what other people are doing right or wrong according to your judgments versus what you're doing right or wrong or how you're behaving. This is all getting distracted by nonsense. Getting distracted by internet battles, witch wars, all that's crap. That's not what you came here for. Align yourself to why you came into these traditions. Okay? And this, many people get trapped in number 7. If you have a problem, deal with the problem, get over it, move on, and move forward with your life. You didn't become involved in these traditions for drama, gossip, and nonsense. You became involved for something bigger, something greater than that. And if that's not what you became involved in these traditions for, then maybe you need to find yourself an exit. Okay? So that's distraction from nonsense. When you're focusing on what others are doing instead of what you're doing, you're being distracted. 7, okay, leads us to number 6. And number 6 is only using half of the equation. So this happens to a lot of people. And it especially happens to people who fall into number 8, feeling like they made it, or letting initiation go to their head, or getting initiated too quickly. They end up using only half the equation. Initiation is half of the equation, training is the other half. One without the other doesn't work right. Initiation confers a certain amount of power and a certain capacity. Doesn't give you the power, it gives you the capacity. Okay? And it strengthens it, it empowers it, it protects it. It does a whole bunch of things. Okay? But if you're only using that to manifest what you want and get what you want and fix your life up and live how you want to live, then you are only using one wing on the bird. And that's why you can't fly. And it might have led you to getting distracted by nonsense and hanging out with the turkeys, since you can't fly. Like my grandmother used to say, is basically don't expect to soar like an eagle hanging out with turkeys. And if you only have one wing, you're going to hang out with the turkeys. So avoid yourself that by filling in the other half that you don't have. If you're only using training without initiation, same. There's tons of power and tons of connections to power that are given to you via initiation that you don't have without it. So you're only using half the equation. Number 6 leaves us off at number 5. Number 5 reminds me of my mentors and my aunt. And number 5 is the need to express yourself. So this is a common problem. Okay? This is a common problem, especially amongst new initiates. You have this need to express yourself. And that's because here in the Western culture, somewhere along the line, you were taught that, that really mattered. When it comes to the mysteries, that doesn't matter. When it comes to the spirits, that doesn't matter. When it comes to God and the law, that doesn't matter. My aunt used to basically slap me and be like, basically, nobody cares. Why? Because it doesn't matter. Your opinions and your feelings are exactly that. And who they matter to are you. So, it is what it is. And just like you don't really care about the feelings or opinions of others as much as you do of your own. So, needing to express yourself too much is a common trap because it leads to many of the other problems that you end up having. Right? Needing to be right, needing to express yourself, getting distracted by nonsense starts happening by needing to express yourself is how you get trapped into that realm, so on and so forth. So don't waste your time. Learn, be observant, be quiet, ask questions. That's how you learn, that's how you grow. Right? Talking about things very often doesn't resolve things. So that was number 5. So now we have number 4. Number 4, it happens all the time. You read a few books, you read some online stuff, and now you're a know-it-all. Number 4 ties into a lot of the other ones. And nobody likes a know-it-all, and everybody knows a know-it-all. And let's just leave it at that. I think know-it-all kind of describes it perfectly. Right? So you don't need to be a know-it-all. It's okay to continue learning and growing. I don't know it all. Nobody knows it all. Everybody's continuing to learn and grow. I've been doing this since '89, and here I am, and I'm still consistently growing and deepening my work and deepening my spiritual power. So then, number 3, this is a major one. It's judging what you are incapable of understanding. When you're a new initiate, when you're not an initiate. And many initiates themselves at higher levels are incapable of understanding certain things. Okay? You can't judge what you don't understand. And just because you think you understand something doesn't mean that you understand anything. Doesn't mean that you actually do understand. So judging other priests, judging other practitioners, judging other people, how can you judge? You don't understand. You don't know. You don't know what's going on there. Right? And this is another big one that leads to a lot of other things. Don't judge what you can't understand. Don't make a fool out of yourself. This often comes because of number 2. So number 2 is one of the heavy hitters of the top 11 mistakes that people make on the spiritual journey. And this is basically not knowing your role. If you don't know your role and you don't know who you are and what you're meant to do in this work and why you're meant to be here and what it's meant to be in your life, that's a problem. If you don't know your role, you overstep your boundaries. If you don't know your role, you get distracted by nonsense and feel the need to express yourself. If you don't know your role, okay, you disrespect those who come before you. If you don't know your role, you judge what you're incapable of understanding because you don't even understand that you're not capable of understanding it. So not knowing your role and expressing yourself and speaking too much, it causes a lot of problems. The tongue drowns more than the sea every year. Think about what that means. Know your role. Know what this is meant to be, who you're meant to be in it, and what your capacity is, if at all. Not knowing your role is a cause of many problems that could have so totally been avoided. And you'll be surprised at how many people are involved and initiated in these traditions 5, 10, 15 years, and they still don't know their role. They still don't know some of these common pitfalls and don't know how to avoid them and still are not avoiding them and are still wondering why their lives are the way that they are. Knowing your role is very important. If you don't know your role and your purpose, you are a boat out to sea with no way to navigate. And the top number one mistake, and many of these other mistakes are summed up by this number one mistake, is using your physical eyes to judge spiritual things instead of your spiritual eyes to judge spiritual things. This is the top mistake. It leads to all of this other nonsense on my list. Okay? People very often use their physical eyes to judge things. And that's where they fall into pitfalls. That's where they end up in scams. That's where they end up getting scammed, taken advantage of, ripped off. That's where they end up tripping over themselves, causing more problems in their life, so on and so on and so forth. Your physical eyes can't judge spiritual things. So stop wasting your time using your physical capacities to judge spiritual things. Okay? Many of the really well-advanced spiritual workers that I know are actually quite young in their years. It doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Many of them started off very young. Okay? Just like Jesus, just like all the prophets, just like many of the spiritual leaders throughout the history of the world. Okay? And many people I've seen judge spiritual workers based on just the spiritual worker looks too young. So since they look too young, then they must not know anything because they're not an old man with a beard. They're not a old woman. Okay? And then, so they trust looks. Or they trust looks in altars. They see a big, beautiful altar, and there's many big, beautiful altars that have plenty of spirit in them, that are very well worked, that have lots of force in them, and have the mysteries really there in them. And there's plenty of big, beautiful altars that don't have shit. Don't have nothing. Right? And they don't have no ish in them. They don't have no force. They don't have anything in them. And people use their eyes like, ooh, this big, beautiful altar. This person must know what they're doing. They must be really good at what they're doing. That doesn't mean anything. Some of the most powerful people I've known throughout time are people that have very small spaces, very small altars, almost nothing. Okay? The power lies not in the altar. It lies in the practitioner and their connection to the mystery. And how long and strong that connection is and developed, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's many things that goes into that. But letting your eyes deceive you is one of the most common pitfalls. Okay? Someone strokes your ego. Oh, you're meant to be a priest or a priestess, a hunga, a mambo, a this, a santero, a santera, blah, blah, blah. Strokes your ego, and you let your eyes deceive you, and now you're all in this trance of, ooh, I'm supposed to be some great thing. Since sliced bread. Okay? And that ends up deceiving you, and that person takes advantage of you. It happens all the time. I know people that have much age and very little in spiritual maturity. And they have the look, but they don't have the spiritual development and maturity and evolution as others. Okay? So don't let your eyes deceive you. When people come here into this world and on earth, everybody comes here with what they're capable of, their total capacity, and also whatever light they came in with to begin with. And not everyone started off with the same amount. Okay? Another thing that people let them deceive them is parties. Like a big, beautiful party. Oh, there's tons of people in that party, blah, blah, blah. I've seen parties where there's tons of people, and the head priests or priestesses have been paying various other priests or priestesses to bring their people to the party to make a video. Okay? And now they have a super huge party, but most of those people there don't belong to the priest or priestess who's running the show. And it's normal for us to get together during parties. Many priests and priestesses coming together to get together during a party. But then people take the assumption that because you see many people, that must be something great there. There's all these things. Okay? Don't let your physical eyes deceive you. Because they will on the spiritual path. Because you take a judgment of somebody, you look at a priest or a priestess and you take a judgment of them, not knowing them, not knowing anything about them. Next thing you know, that could have been your savior there. And you close that door off. Because they don't look the part. They didn't say things according to the way you thought. So on and so forth. But that lies in the thing of judging what you're incapable of understanding. Okay? So the lack of real spiritual sight is going to lead you into all of these traps. Alright, so that's all on this video about the spiritual path and the top 11 mistakes. I hope that you enjoyed that. Keep the faith. God bless you. And speak to you soon.